So Ghostbusters Afterlife. I am not interested in this movie. I know a lot of people who were Ghostbusters fans, hated the 2016 movie, maybe didn't see it, hate the idea of it, and they're championing this movie. And I gotta say, man, I think Ghostbusters is two movies in the 80s in a cartoon and, video game, but I don't really consider it a franchise. I think Ghostbusters is one of those things that should have never continued to this extent. It should not have gotten a modern sequel, rather in woke or at all, because I don't think it'll add to the story. I don't think Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to be good. And even though we're reading critics, we're going to see what the critics think. Let's be honest, the critics don't fucking matter. They don't. I'm with Bill Murray. We should have just kept it at one. Ghostbusters Afterlife reviews are rolling in from critics who've seen the film. It stars Paul Rudd, Finn Wolfhard, that's not a real name, McKenna Grace, that probably isn't either, and Carrie Coon, racist. On Metacritic, a film has a Metascore with 7 positive reviews, 3 mixed reviews, and 1 negative review. So, Metascore of 62. Rosie Knight at IGN, so a woman, she gives the film a 90. She writes, director Jason Reitman does his father, and fans proud with a funny, sweet, spooky family movie that proudly takes on the legacy of Ghostbusters while introducing something new and exciting. Sure, that review just sounds like it just was written. It sounds like a review the studio could have wrote, but sure. Johnny Olesinski at the New York Post gave the movie an 88. He writes, Reitman finds the perfect tone here. He's skilled at getting genuine performance out of young actors, and he proved in Juno. I forgot he was the Juno director. Balancing humor with stakes, essential for comedy horror like Ghostbuster. The jokes are very funny, and Wolfhard and Grace make life-threatening peril look like a ball. Jane Crowder at Total Film gives the movie an 80. She writes, warm, witty, and full of wonder. Afterlife reanimates a franchise without spitting on his grave. That's an interesting review. Sherry Linden at The Hollywood Reporter gives the film an 80. She writes, a franchise update origin story coming of age movie comedy indulgent FX extravaganza. Ollie Richards at Empire gives the movie an 80. He writes, it's always fun, inventive, of charm. You have any concerns that Reitman's films may sully the legacy of his dad's greatest creation? There's nothing to be afraid of. There is that obviously is being created by the son, the original director. William Babani at The Wrap gives it a 71. He states, Reitman's director may be sharp and professional, but it's only in the service of familiar material, so it falls to an excellent cast to make the most of a very repetitive situation. Peter DeBurge gives it a 70. He says, the good news for Ghostbusters is that Afterlife does nothing to tarnish what's come before. That's a massive improvement. All right, Christian Holeb gives it a 58. He's at Entertainment Weekly for what it's worth. Some jokes here. Paul Rudd brings in a little lightness to the proceeding as the kid's science teacher, Mr. Gruberson, but it's hard to escape the overall sensation of, a corpse being exhumed. Jesse Hassinger of AGV Club gives it a 50. They stay. Afterlife wants desperately to summon the spirit of watching the first movie back in 1984 and winds up ghoulish in the wrong way. Courtney hired at IndieWire. Who cares about the IndieWire? Gave it a 50. She says, Jason Reitman's Ghostbusters Afterlife hits the reboot button once more, this time carrying a familiar cinematic legacy, yet with all nostalgia packed into the picture. Its own refurbished identity is slightly compromised, functioning as a mimeograph of what came before it. Oh, Black Girl Nerds. We care what they think. I've never heard of site. Catalina Combs of Black Girl Nerds. Probably is a white trans woman for all we know, because we know how much they love black people. Fans of the original 1984 Ghostbusters will have fun with Ghostbusters Afterlife. You will laugh. You will be thrilled. It's a love letter to the original and the fans. And maybe if it is this, I think a lot of people will like it. I just don't have this interest in it. I'm at a point where outside of wokeness, outside of all the agenda, outside of everything they're doing, I just want good original franchises. Wokeness aside, they're still grave robbing with these franchises. They keep going to old franchises over and over and over and over and over again. We cannot get something new out of Hollywood. That's to me as big of an issue as the agenda.